The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let's talk about the main event. Everybody came here for middleweight division. Your champion, Sean Strickland, going against DDP. And nobody was really talking about this fight until they pan over into the crowd at UFC 296. And we talked about this on the last show we did. Sean Strickland politely moves. Was it Gilbert Burns' family? Or was it
yeah, it was Gilbert Burns.
Oh, yeah. He politely moves Gilbert kids and wife over. And he proceeds to jump across and Falcon punch DDP, Dricus Duplessis, and go have an all-out brawl, and let's really ramp up the fight. You know, UFC is gonna be showing this in all of the fight hype packages, even though they swear that they don't like this behavior, but they like it. So it's a lot of bad blood going into this. Are y'all hyped to see this fight before we actually talk about who y'all think are gonna win?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of buildup. I mean, like you said, I think Dana White knew exactly what he was doing, sitting them close together. They had to get some hype going for something, and that did it. I mean, as soon as that happened, what night was that? That was Leon Edwards. That was the night, and everybody said that was the best fight of the night. Strickland and DDP in the crowd. So it was all the talk. It stole the show, and they're both kind of shit talkers. They get to settle it in there. They get to fight each other. Whether you like him or not, Sean Strickland puts on exciting fights. DDP, I mean, once we get to our picks, you'll get to hear my opinion on him. But I mean, I think he's top tier.
Steve, you hyped for this fight?
Yeah, definitely for what it is, the hype behind it, the arguments and the fights in the crowd. I think it's going to amp up the intensity of both fighters, especially for Strickland and his interviews with certain people on YouTube expressing why he's done it, where he comes from as a place as a child, and to blow up on him like that, it just makes everything interesting. And I wonder if they're actually going to put that in the promotion, like the bus. That'd be cool.
They will. We're going to see that crowd fight 1,000,000 times leading up to it.
Yeah, they're going to show that, because when that bus fight happened between Conor and Habib, they swear that it was unacceptable. They'll never show it, but once we got to the fight, they showed it in all the promos. So, like Am I said, we're going to see it 1,000,000 times before the fight. But let's get into the nitty gritty. What are your thoughts on this actual fight and how it goes down, Am?
Well, man, as soon as you messaged me this morning, I've been thinking about it, and I'm just arguing with myself in my head about it. On one hand, Sean Strickland, I mean, I like him as a person. He's got a good backstory, where he came from, where he's at now. I like his I'll fight anybody attitude. Whether he wins or loses, he gives it his all. What he did to Izzy, we haven't really seen done a whole lot. We only seen it when Izzy was, kind of knocked out by Alex, and, when Izzy moved up. But, he was he dominated Izzy. On the other hand, you got DDP, who has a lot of tools, man. Like, this guy never went to a decision. Has 2 losses on his record early in his career, and just been a wrecking ball since he came into the UFC. I like him too as well. I like the way he talks. I like the way he carries himself. I like the way he fights. I'm really torn on this fight, because when you see Strickland go against somebody that's really high skilled, he usually doesn't do as well. But then you have that Izzy fight, in the back of my mind, like, what if he puts the pressure on and, puts DDP in a place that we really haven't seen? So there's so many variables coming into this, and that's why I think this is just it could be fight of the year. I mean, it has a chance of that. My heart says Strickland, but my head says DDP. I'm going to take DDP, and I don't like it.
So, Admire has DDP. What say you, Steve?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same way, because for real, the only thing that Strickland got was that anomaly win, which gives him that would earn you 1 point, gives you 5 points, or like basketball, that's a 3-pointer right there. And you try to compare the people who they fought, and I say the real significant one that Duplessis has was the Whitaker one. And I think we have two fighters that really have faced mediocre competition until their last fights. And this one will decide that this one is a true one who's on top, whether if it's I think as far as who they beat already and how they came up, this is really the eliminator for the middleweight, because they almost have the same lineage of fighters before they fought a Israel or a Whitaker. And I'm thinking on Strickland, if he's gonna throw them fights what he did before, the decisions, I don't see it. It's another decision. But I'm seeing in his last fight, because certain fights can transition fighters' mentality, and I wonder if he tapped into something as a new fighter winning that Israel, because we saw a whole different Strickland as far as all up in his face and almost has his reflexes on point. If Strickland doesn't tap into that, I think it can be an easy win for Duplessis. And then again, hopefully, maybe Strickland's emotions were totally different from when he fought Israel Adesanya. Maybe him being upset at Duplessis might throw his accuracy off. I don't know, but I like you said, Admire, my heart, because of America and Strickland, what he fights for, I want him to win, but Duplessis tells me that he ain't had the belt yet. He's willing to take it, and from how he's fought Whitaker and these other people, I don't think he's scared of these fighters, especially Strickland. Maybe if it was Israel, he'd be more cautious, but I think he's not intimidated as he is with Israel.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing we didn't mention either that could, I'm just saying could play a factor. They talk about how much Strickland does train, and he trains more than anybody else. But ever since he beat Israel, he's been on like every podcast. Like he's leaning into the fame side of it. Is he taking this stuff? Is the fight as serious as he should? Or is he just relying on his natural toughness? I don't know. So that's another thing that kind of weighed in on my decision is who's taking this fight more serious, and I think it's DDP.
Yeah, he's been kind of on that tour, that the champions take, where you're all over the place and everywhere. But Steve, you officially took DDP, or?
Yeah, I'll choose DDP. I don't want to. I think Strickland can win, but
man, I was thinking both of y'all would go with Strickland, so that was going to make my pick a little easier, because Strickland showed a lot in that Israel Adesanya fight. But I don't know if he caught lightning in a bottle, or if this is just the new Strickland and he's going to fight like that going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if Strickland, keeps the momentum going and wins this. But with that being said, I'm not. It's a tough one, because, like I said, I think Strickland can win this, but I'm gonna go with DDP just because I gotta go back on your track record, and DDP's a finisher, man. And as impressive as that Israel Adesanya performance was by Strickland, it still went all 5 rounds. It still went the distance. So, go ahead, Steve.
And I was gonna say, give him the win. The fight was a fight, but I think the only reason why he was comfortable for the rest of the fight was when he blasted him in the face. I think round 2. If it wasn't for that, and then after that, Israel was pretty clean on not getting blasted again. So if he never would have got blasted, I don't think Sean Strickland would have had that momentum to believe in himself. He's going to have to establish respect early on.
Definitely. I think he's just going to have to approach it like he did that Adesanya fight and be in his face early, and that'll be the keys to success for him. But I don't know if we see that happen. But like I said, I won't be surprised if Sean Strickland wins this. So I'm picking DDP. I'm not confident on it, but I think DDP gets the job done, and he'll be your new middleweight champion. And maybe the stars will align, and maybe we do get DDP and Israel Adesanya at UFC 300, because we talked about on the show before that cringe post-fight interview they had with the N-bomb riddled. So they, they got a backstory on that one if that does happen. But like I said, Sean Strickland may retain, but that's why they settle it in the cage. And we'll see how everything plays out this week.